Today, I want to talk about the 10 key things you need to consider if you need to make redundancies. Firstly, you need to consider how many roles you need to make redundant. Are you restructuring the whole organisation, or are there specific roles which are at risk of redundancy? Secondly, if you're proposing to make more than 20 people redundant, you need to consult collectively, either with a recognised trade union or by electing employee representatives. Thirdly, you need to have a meeting with those staff who are affected. This means either the staff who all do the same job, who would be considered to be in the same pool as each other, or with all the staff whose roles are potentially at risk of redundancy. You should have a meeting explaining the business rationale why you expect to make redundancies. You should explain the different pools, if there are any, and also the proposed selection criteria, as well as how long you think the consultation process should take. At the end of this meeting, you should give all employees affected an at-risk letter, which summarises what you've covered in the first meeting. You then give people a few days to consider what you've told them regarding the proposal and to take advice if they need to. And you have a second meeting, which I tend to call a listening meeting. It is at this meeting that those affected can ask questions regarding the rationale for the redundancies. They can also put forward alternative suggestions in terms of perhaps working part-time or doing a job share with somebody or putting forward a different structure for the organisation. At that meeting, you should be able to answer questions regarding potential redundancy pay, which is applicable to those with more than 2 years service. And also, you should have an idea of whether those affected, if they are made redundant, will need to work their notice. One of the difficult aspects of selecting for redundancies is choosing the relevant criteria. These should be criteria which are objective, things like sales data, appraisal records, disciplinary records, things which the employees can't argue with because it's historic data which is objective. And ideally, you need to consult with those affected about the selection criteria. After the second meeting, if you have done this in a group, it's probably best to move to individual consultation. And once you've considered all the alternative suggestions that have been put forward, it's time to finalise the selection criteria and apply them to those who are at risk of redundancy. We can help with this. We can help with a selection matrix, which makes it easier to rate each individual who's at risk. Once you've done the rating process, you can actually have an overview of how the staff at risk have been rated and who is more likely to be made redundant. You can then hold individual consultation meetings with those who are at risk, explaining their ratings and whether or not they are likely to be confirmed as being made redundant. In the individual meetings, people can still put forward any alternative suggestions they have and any comments they have on their ratings. If there's no suitable alternative employment and the ratings are very clear and differentiate between those at risk, and nothing else has been raised in the consultation process, it'll be time to confirm the selection for redundancy. Again, this is done on an individual basis, and you will explain to each individual what their redundancy pay is, if it's applicable, if they've got over 2 years service, and also whether they'll be required to work their notice and what, if any, holiday pay is due to them. You do have an obligation to continue looking for any suitable alternative employment that may arise, and to make sure that you confirm their redundancy in a final letter with all relevant payments. So it is quite an onerous process, particularly for staff with more than 2 years service, but if it's done in a fair way and it's a meaningful consultation, then it should avoid any employment tribunal claims. If you have any questions about managing redundancies and the consultation process, please don't hesitate to be in touch, either via email on help@yourhrpartner.co.uk or by contacting us on 0208 346 8686. Thank you.